Infinite Opportunities helps you learn more about the wide range of enriching opportunities at Pennsylvania's 14 state system universities. This week, we take a look at programs centered on hands-on learning at universities across the state system. But first, we'll hear from Shippensburg University's president, Jody Harpster.
Hello, I'm Frank Brogan, the Chancellor of the State University System of Pennsylvania, representing 14 wonderful universities, and as we like to say, providing infinite opportunities. 110,000 students fill the ranks of our classrooms and laboratories, our campuses in each and every day, and currently over 500,000 graduates of our universities are literally changing the quality of life for the better of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the rest of the country, and even the world. We're very excited today to have one of our 14 university presidents with us, Dr. Jody Harpster. Dr. Harpster is the recently named president of Shippensburg University, a great university here in Pennsylvania. So we're delighted to have him with us today. He served as the interim president of Shippensburg on 2 separate occasions prior to ultimately being named the full-fledged president of Shippensburg U. So we're delighted to have you with us today, Dr. Harpster, and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chancellor.
And could you please give us just a little bit of information generally about Shippensburg University?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Shippensburg, as you mentioned, is located near Harrisburg, about 45 minutes away. Small, picturesque community, about 7,500 students, 3 colleges, business and education and human services, and arts and sciences, full range of programs and services. Also the home to the Loris Performing Arts Center, which draws a number of people from this region of the state for performances and activities.
You know, because you are located in such proximity to Harrisburg, where I work, I've had numerous opportunities to visit the campus of Shippensburg. But I recently had the opportunity to stand in for Dr. Harpster and serve as the person overseeing and helping with the commencement exercise this last spring. Dr. Harpster's daughter just graduated from Westchester University. The graduations were on the same day, and I was very honored when Dr. Harpster asked me if I would stand in for him during that ceremony. And I have to tell you, one of the best commencement exercises I've ever been a part of in my career. I can't say enough about how well it went and how much it was appreciated by the students and their families, and I thank you for that great honor.
Well, thank you very much for doing that for us. It allowed me to have the opportunity to be a father. I think we consistently say in education, you know, it's all about your children and the students, and that gave me the opportunity to make my daughter first that day. I was very happy to have the opportunity to have you attend to the service for me.
Well, it was, as I say, enormously well done and representative of so many of the great things that unfold. But I know you at Shippensburg have some new programs and opportunities that are about to go online for the students of Shippensburg beginning this fall. One of those we're very excited about, recently approved by the Board of Governors, is your new program in electrical engineering. You want to tell us a little about that?
Sure. The electrical engineering program will be the first engineering program in the state system. It's designed to build on the computer science, computer engineering, and software engineering programs that are already in existence. There'll certainly be a significant element of applied physics also involved in that program. The goal was for 50 students in 5 years. We're already at 19 students for this fall, so we're already at 40% of the projected 5-year capacity. The design of the program will allow students to do special work on the enhancement of semiconductors, and also give them an opportunity to work very directly with the control of electronic equipment, so both the design and building of that, which allows them to move into many of the industries in the Commonwealth. It clearly is a program that's designed to meet the workforce needs of the Commonwealth. So any company that builds machinery with electronic components, and today that's almost everything. These students are specifically trained to work in those environments.
Well, we're excited about it because it begins to bring the world of engineering into our 14 universities, one program at a time. The uniqueness of that allows us to make certain that we're building each of these programs to be very, very special, and more importantly, perhaps, as you mentioned, make certain that they line up with the needs of the Commonwealth. This is a good illustration, and I know that the Board of Governors was so very proud to have the chance to pronounce this program ready to get up and operational. We wish you well with it.
Thank you.
You also do some great things in the world of undergraduate research and with research thinking. A lot of folks don't understand that research isn't just a static exercise. It requires an entirely different level of thinking that, again, is very important as it translates with these students out there into the world of work when they graduate from Shippensburg and our other 13 universities. Tell us a little bit about Minds at Work.
Sure. Well, nationally, there's an expectation growing. I suspect it's always been there to some degree, but it's certainly growing, that engagement in research absolutely enhances and supports the student as they try to leave the institution or when they leave the institution and move into the work world. It's one other opportunity that some campuses can offer that everyone can't do or chooses not to do. We have chosen to do that at SHIP. We call it a high-impact practice. It's an activity where students connect with a faculty mentor, design a research program, sometimes more than one, and then work throughout the year. Unlike large research institutions where there are multi-million-dollar grants that are funding and supporting research that may be done for the National Health Center or someone like that, these really are an element where they focus on our region, our community, or an area of need that's identified. So they may look at how the water drains from one of the streams in the area, that sort of thing. Each year at the conclusion, near the conclusion of the year, the students put together a presentation with their faculty mentor and then present it in a full day, where we call the Minds at Work conference, that focuses on the students' research and their creativity. It's very well attended. This past year, over 300 students participated in that. We started in the range of 100 students or so back 6 or 8 or 10 years ago, and now it's developed to that level.
Well, I'm very fond of telling people that our goal is not to turn out educated drones.
Absolutely.
Our job and our mission is to make certain that our graduates are ready to plug into the world of the 21st century. And new levels of thinking are simply necessary in order to do that. And it's an exciting program that you all operate. Speaking of which, I am a graduate in my graduate work of an educational leadership program a long time ago. And I know something else very exciting happening at Shippensburg, and that is the fact that you are about to begin an ed leadership program with a doctorate attached to it. You want to tell us about that one?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chancellor, for bringing that up. The program in educational leadership is actually going to be a joint program with Millersville. It's already, the first classes are already meeting. I actually attended one of their classes last week as one of the guest speakers and talked about educational leadership theory and the challenges that higher education faces. It's designed with two very special foci. One is on digital learning, and the other is on poverty of the students in the school district. So it attends to the challenges that are faced, especially in small rural communities. Many of them are in this region of the state, and provides specialized attention for the aspiring superintendents and principals or existing superintendents and principals who actually don't have their doctorate yet.
Shippensburg has such a long and illustrious career in the world of education, and something else that you boast and should is the Grace B. Lewis University Elementary School on your campus. When the word unique is used, it's oftentimes overused. In this particular case, it's spot on. It is the only such school on any of our 14 state system campuses. Tell us how that works.
Sure. Well, the Lewis School has been in existence for over 100 years. It was, along with all of the other state system schools originally, each of those institutions had to have a model school. So we started out as teacher training institutions. Each school had the training school for the teachers, and they would literally watch a master teacher provide teaching. That's where they got the basis for them then to leave the institution to become a teacher. So over the years it modified itself because of addressing the needs of the area, and became an elementary school in and of itself. So it operates kindergarten through 5th grade. There are about 120 students in the school. It's a partner with the Shippensburg Area School District. So it actually is a member of the school's operational services, and but provides very special opportunities for our students. Students can come in and out and actually work in the classrooms. There are observation rooms adjacent to each classroom for them to watch quietly, hopefully without the students knowing that they're in there, and allows special opportunities for connecting parents to their children's education as well. It is a very unique opportunity and one that we're very proud of, and a lot of pride goes into the operation of that program.
Well, you are a multifaceted university, both academically and in terms of extra and co-curricular activities, but you do so many things so very well, and we thank you so much for being with us. The time goes quickly, but I think our viewers have a much better idea about some of the unique programs and some of the special nature that really is Shippensburg University. Dr. Jody Harpster of Shippensburg, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor.
Next, we go to Shippensburg University to learn more about an on-campus elementary school and the hands-on experience it provides student teachers.
I chose Shippensburg University because I've heard so many people rave about the amazing education program here.
I really want to teach abroad, and since that's my goal, I wanted to learn the strategies that I know are best practice that would be best for the children that I'm going to teach. I want them to have the same opportunities that any child here or anywhere else in the United States would have.
I chose Shippensburg University mainly because on my tour they showed us this lab school on campus.
G Blues is a special school because of the amount of involvement that the university offers to college students. We have students in and out of our classroom daily. We have student teachers, we have practicum students, we have observers from all departments across campus.
Having a school on campus makes it much easier for the students while they're sophomores and juniors to be able to come down and observe children learn and get to see that firsthand because it's here, it's easily accessible.
150 years ago, when the university was a normal school, they realized that teachers who are going to teach children need to have experiences. They couldn't send them out to the rural schools to have experiences, so they opened up a lab school on campus in Old Main from children from 1st to 8th grade, and the students at that time developed lessons and taught lessons, and they were the teachers in those classrooms. So from that early start, the lab school has progressed and grown along with the university. So really the lab school has been a part of the university, either the college or the normal school, since the inception. And that's one of the reasons we've survived where other university lab schools have not, because of our deep historical roots.
I decided to student teach here at G Blues because I want to challenge myself. Student teachers here with the Taylor internship have to go above and beyond just the student teaching requirements. We have to do a cross-curricular study. We have to do sub-day, which in student teaching, you might not even ever have the chance to write sub-plans or sub in another person's room. So I get the opportunity to do both of those here.
I think it's a big plus for them as a student teacher, just to experience all the rigors of teaching, because they take over the classroom early on in their situation. And in typical student teaching sessions, they have 2 weeks where they teach it full time. Here, my student teacher has been teaching for 6 weeks already.
That experience was a great opportunity. I got to do hands-on experiences and see best practice in that classroom.
One of the fine things about having a lab school on campus is that university students get to observe kids and work with kids very early in their career. Starting as freshmen, they can come into the building.
As soon as we started in the education department, they got us into the field.
I went to numerous conferences during this time, and the content they were delivering at the conferences that teachers should be using and learning is what we were learning in our classrooms here at Shippensburg University. And so that shows me that I'm learning top of the line material and I'm getting a very valuable education.
The opportunity for our students to get employment is much higher than in other schools and districts because of the experiences here. They bring to interviews all the experiences they've done here. They develop units, they teach whole school units in our building. They do substitute teacher day in our building. So they're experiencing all the things that a regular teacher may be experiencing in their own buildings.
I would recommend Shippensburg and the education department here because they are evolving with the current times and with the new standards that are coming out. And it's also so hands-on.
I would recommend Shippensburg for anyone that is looking to become a teacher because of the rigorous program they set out for us and the amazing field placement opportunities that we have. They just set you up and you are ready to go out and teach afterwards.
Unanimously, they leave saying, I'm so glad I had that experience because I know when I go out into a teaching world, it's not going to be that way. It's not going to be that way unless I make it that way.
Coming up next, explore more opportunities offered at the universities in Pennsylvania's state system of higher education.
Discover the years that will change the rest of your life. Come to a place that is home to different cultures that make us all unique. Embrace the chance to be a better friend, a better leader, a better you. Put your imagination to work in theater and the arts. Shatter records. Chase your dreams. Be a warrior. Create new ideas. Discover who you are and how you can make a difference. Discover ESU.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Mansfield University of Pennsylvania to learn how 3D printing is having an impact on topographical map modeling.
3D printing's been around for a little while, but you know, it really hasn't been explored much in map making and cartography. A lot of the people who are using 3D printing right now are map making hobbyists, basically. But the maps that are being put out right now weren't necessarily cartographically accurate to representative standards. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to kind of take this technology and figure out how it can be applied to mapping, you know, from the perspective of a cartographer, from the perspective of a map maker.
Andy and I got together with the GIS manager, Scott Zubak, over at the Department of GIS and at the Tioga Courthouse there. We basically discussed getting grant monies that were available for the printer. So that's kind of evolved into, now that we have it, you know, how can we apply this? So we've basically been trying to engineer projects that we get the students involved in. The way the basic 3D printer that we have works is that it's basically has a monofilament type polymer that is spooled. And it's spooled into the, basically, it's called an extruder, but it's basically a hot glue gun almost, if you will. If you push the material in, it heats up at a certain temperature, and then it sprays it. But it has a platform in the 3D printer that basically will move up and down as it builds that model. So the extruder will pass back and forth, and it's on a Z-axis where it'll actually move around. But the platform will move up and down. So as we're creating this model, it creates it in that third dimension by moving the platform up and down. So it's really pretty simplistic in the way that it works. Most of the technicality is in producing the image that's necessary and getting it in the correct form to get it into the machine.
You know, we've gotten down the process of taking geospatial data that's downloaded from, you know, USGS and turning it into a map like this in about 20 minutes. I mean, that's how long it takes. I mean, that's pretty quick. With that in mind, okay, so that's nice and short and quick, but then the map takes between 40 and 60 hours to print.
The first maps would be the Grand Canyon. The desktop software will tell you it takes roughly 44 hours, but it's probably 10 or more hours than that. We have a data share agreement with the GIS department for the county, and we take the contours that they provide us with and we turn it into a digital elevation model. We put that into a 3D modeling program and displace a plane by it, and it creates this kind of map, and we export it as a STL, and then we put that into the MakerBot desktop software and tell it to print.
We're looking at projects like mapping sinkholes, trying to come up with models of caves, things of that nature.
The maps that we're making are generally far more detailed. They're far more precise in how they represent landforms than similar maps of this type, raised relief maps that you can buy from a company or from the government.
We're wanting to basically use it as a geo-visualization process for applying to these research projects that we already have underway.
Coming up next, explore more opportunities offered at the universities in Pennsylvania's state system of higher education.
One decision, endless possibilities. California University of Pennsylvania opens your mind to more than 130 programs of study. Programs that matter to business, to justice, to our environment, to the future of our world. California University of Pennsylvania, because the world is waiting for you.
Enroll now for our master's degree in applied math at calu.edu.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Bloomsburg University to learn how students are using storytelling to help patients suffering from a language impairment disorder.
Aphasia is an impairment of language. It can be expressive or receptive. Those multiple forms, and each patient is very different. And that's kind of a dynamic that really played into our storytelling activities, both in our smaller environment in the client, but also with our intergenerational day when we expanded it to the larger aphasia center. Since there's a lot of different personalities and aphasias, that really changed our storytelling dynamic in that way.
So the speech pathology department, the graduate clinicians over there really spread out this past year doing a lot of different community work. So a lot of that mainly was at the Aphasia Center in Danville, but as well as the Head Start in Danville as well. So we were doing a lot of work with one of the research programs that we've been doing. There was a group of 4 of us that were studying a storytelling paradigm, and there was part of it that we wanted to look at the actual Aphasia Center to see how it was in a community setting. So we started doing work there, as well as we would go to Head Start first, and then we would transition. So we went from our littles then to our geriatric population, which was a very different contrast, but enjoyable as it was, and we used storytelling in both concepts, more so in the Aphasia Center though than in Head Start. So one of the things that we wanted to test out is something that we've been calling intergenerational therapy. So we wanted to see if bringing youngsters in with our older population, if it would help facilitate communication with them in a different way than we've ever realized before. When it comes to storytelling, obviously you usually use it with our littles, our younger students. However, we found that with our older population, it works, if not better or the same, but it facilitated that communication as well. It facilitated greater vocabulary, it expanded their lexicon, it had them communicating with each other, communicating with us. So why not try it with the littles as well?
Storytelling is a great thing when you work with a group of aphasic patients, because it helps all of them to somehow participate with their own limitations. So none of those patients are identical in their ways of communicating. Some of them will use gestures, some of them would write down some things, some of them would use devices, speech generating devices, and some of them would also like just talk almost normally. They would just have sometimes a block and be able like to think to come up with a word. So by this activity, it was a way for us to have all of them talk and all of them communicate with the ultimate goal of creating a new story. So not only it was good for them to be able to communicate with their own limitations and skills, but also to have fun. So basically how it worked, we were giving them a black and white picture and just looking at it. One of us was the facilitator coming up with questions, and we would ask them questions like, all right, here's a black and white picture of this. What's going on in this picture? what could you tell me about it? And then each of them would somehow participate in creating a new story based of this picture. And the neat thing about it is that not only people were able to participate individually with their skills, but we were accepting all the answers. So if somebody says, all right, I think this picture was taken in Puerto Rico, all right, here it goes, now the storytelling takes place in Puerto Rico. So it was kind of neat to have that kind of activity with our patients.
We're really focusing on helping them get their language out in the way that they want to communicate with others, including their family and the community at large. But with aphasic clients, they're adults, so they're not kids, and they've already acquired the language prior to the onset of their language disorder. So really getting them either to compensate by physical external aids or other devices that they can use. And so we really are focusing on getting their language back or compensating for their language that they already had.
As poor graduate clinicians that we are, we don't always have all these resources available to us. So one of the wonderful things that we can access is the BU Toy Lending Library. The speech pathology department probably is the greatest department on campus that uses it the most. So we were able to go through, access many different toys. So for that specific day, we brought our young students with our olders, and we walked through the typical story, Eric Carle, the Hungry Caterpillar. So we had books from the Toy Lending Library, so we read through it with our olders and our youngers, and then we sang afterwards. So we did not have any musical instruments to us, so we used the Toy Lending Library instruments, which was a great resource to us, and the kids loved it. The adults loved it, and it really brought everyone together. And you know it, hit them again. If you're happy and you know it, hit them again. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, hit them again. Happy and you know it, do it again. If you're happy and you know it, do it again. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, do it again.
Each client was different. Some of the aphasic clients, they benefited a lot from the storytelling in a group dynamic. Some benefited in an individual dynamic with a one-on-one clinician dyad. And it was definitely different in the Aphasia Center with multiple people, more than 4. We're talking like 6 or 7, sometimes 12, depending on the group.
I think it was a great experience for us as students because I guess most programs don't offer a chance to work with patients who have aphasia. Most places you learn about it in a class and that's it, and you come out in the real world and you have no experience in that field. So for us, not only we were able to work with these patients because we have this aphasia group at the clinic at Bloomsburg, but also we learned while we were grad students rather than just learning all that stuff while we're out there.
Come back next week to learn more of the infinite opportunities at the state system's 14 universities, or visit us online.